Hi, my name is Rebecca Sutton, and I'm the founder of Ready Skills Boxes. I'm a special ed teacher. I've taught for the last 16 years in New York State and internationally in London. I have an undergraduate degree in educational psychology, and I have a master's degree in special education.
Where did you come up with the idea for the Ready Skills Box program?
I've been teaching special ed for about 14 years, and I had kind of taught the wide gambit of special ed. I had taught everything from resource room to inclusion to departmentalized, and I was really good at what I did. But I kind of had a curveball thrown at me in August of a few years ago when my administrators came to me and told me I'd be teaching an autistic classroom. And I had never done that before. And the students that were coming to us, it was 5 boys who had been transplanted from a private school setting, and they were now going to be serviced in a public school setting. And I was nervous about working with a population I hadn't worked with before, as I think a lot of special ed teachers are, as we're getting more and more autistic students in our classroom. But my administrators set basically 3 criteria for me. They said, make sure that you're meeting their IEP goals, you're documenting their growth. That was the first one. Second, they said, make sure that that the students' behaviors are controlled. And the third criteria that they set for us was to make sure that the students were actively engaged. So I set about researching, looking for a program that would have those 3 criteria met. And the first thing that I noticed was that there wasn't really a program established yet. I think, these kids are coming to us in a public school setting more and more, and special ed teachers, even though we're prepared for them, in our training, we're not really prepared for them in our classrooms. So I spent a lot of time researching, talking to teachers in my district and out of my district, and I spent a lot of time, researching on the internet, looking for things that would meet the varied needs of these students. The five boys in the classroom, some of them were nonverbal, some of them were highly combative, had a lot of really severe behavioral issues, and some of them had more educational capacity. They were able to read and write and do math. And they all had really dire social needs that needed to be addressed. So Ready Skills Boxes evolved from those kind of criteria. I found that the kids did really well with motor tasks, with hands-on activities. So that was the first kind of layer of what we created in the box. There needed to be a hands-on component to keep them actively engaged. We also wanted to create a routine, where the students were, their growth was being checked and targeted, and we were able to document, their IEP goals being met. And then the last thing that we were, that I really focused on was making sure that each box, even though it had one central theme, had a wide enough variety of activities in it that the specific needs of each student in my class could be met with the same overarching theme. So that was kind of where Ready Skills Boxes emerged from, and I'm really proud of the product that we've created.
What does the Ready Skills Box program offer to the autistic and special education populations that gives it distinct advantages over what currently exists in the market?
Well, I think the first thing is really evaluating what currently exists in the market. The school that I teach at had some task boxes, which is a common tool, in autistic classrooms, where students kind of, perform a task every single day. Usually it's a sorting or a classifying task, those real lower level Bloom's taxonomy pieces. So our focus has really been to gear away from that. While we do have some task-like components, to prepare kids for vocational, training and for future employment, we really wanted to make that a small piece of these boxes. So we really tried to focus on meeting three main needs. First of all, we wanted to have the task be hands-on. It really helped to engage the students, and it helped to control kind of negative behaviors. The second thing, once we had captured their attention, we wanted to make sure that we had a lot of OT tasks in it. The classroom that I taught in, the OT therapist would come in during the time, and she would use the boxes as her OT lessons. So we wanted to make sure each box had an OT component. We also, are very aware of the social needs of students with autism. So we wanted to make sure that each box had a piece that encouraged them to interact either with their one-to-one or the teacher in the classroom, but really gave them a chance to interact with each other. So each box has a game or some kind of collaborative activity. And then the last component that we were looking for was really to provide some educational stimulation, to really push kids academically. So in each box you'll see, in future videos when you see the kids playing with them, there's a reading component to it. There's a writing component to it. There's a mathematical component to it. There's a centralized theme that ties into things that their classmates in the mainstream are working on. So that was another key component of what we were looking for. I'm going to give you an example. We have the telling time box, which is a task that kids in schools are working on, whether you have an IEP or not. And we really took that telling time box and we gave the kids some motor tasks to do in it, where they're moving the hands on a clock or drawing the hands in on a clock. But we also included a book about telling time to help them regulate what time of day certain activities should happen, like having breakfast or going to school or getting on the bus. We also spent some time creating some games where the students could play interactively with each other to develop those social skills. And then there was, there's some math components where they're counting by fives to, hands on a clock. So we really tried to, in each box, incorporate a wide variety of tasks so that every student, whether they're verbal or nonverbal, whether they can read or they can't read, that they have some places to experience, to practice with, and to grow. So that's the real main difference between Ready Skills boxes and what's out on the market. It's not a task set of boxes. It's a program where we document student growth, we provide them with opportunities for growth, and we encourage them to interact with each other.